Welcome back to the channel. Today's review is going to be about a couple of items, this one here and this one here, and my experiences with loose connectors like this one here and this one here, and how this can be a challenge for some people when they're doing some electrical wiring and you're using a MAR connector or Marrette connector specifically. And we're going to explain how this happens, but let's first start off with this right here. Okay, so here is just a regular receptacle, and if you look on the top you can see that this wire is loose, and this particular threaded fastener that is supposed to tighten it down, well, they actually do become loose. In my experience, what I've seen over time is if you're operating on some type of equipment that has a lot of vibration, and specifically the one that I'm going to talk about is somebody who has a generator and they want to go to replace the receptacle and they use one of these, which is the wrong one. But it will work. And of course you don't use solid wire, you use braided wire. But what happens is over time these will loosen up. And an easy fix is, well, you can see that right there. All I do is get some Loctite and put the Loctite on first on the threads, put your wire on and fasten it down, and away you go. But you would be surprised the amount of times that somebody will tighten up one of these threaded connectors, and over time, depending, on the situation with the vibration in the area, especially if you live, say, close to a rail track, yeah, they will loosen up over time and cause problems. So let's move on to the second item. Well, here we go right here. Now this is just a regular 2 conductors, 14 gauge, and what I see a lot of people doing is they will just thread this on and leave it, and that's it, and they're good to go. Well, I don't actually do that. I do something a little bit different. I'll show you in a minute. But I'd like to show you what is so common that I see that is, well, actually not the right way to do something, but people do it. Now, I will show you something. If we just take a look at this one here, what I usually do is you have a couple of pairs of pliers and you use one pair to hold these 2 conductors, and you use the other one to actually do the twisting action. And you come up with something like this. So even if this were to fall off for some reason, like in high vibration areas, I've mentioned before in the past where I opened up a receptacle box on the ceiling, and when I lowered the lid down, this fell off. The wires inside here were not nice and tight like that. They were actually loose, and that was causing the bad connection. So I'll show you exactly what I see quite often, where people actually join the 2 wires together and they join them together incorrectly. So let's take a look at that next. Well, this is what I see going on many times. You got the 2 conductors like this, and I will see people just put the Marrette connector on and just start twisting. And they'll twist it down until it gets very tight, and then they stop, and that's it, you're good to go. But if you actually take this connector off, how far did you get, right? You didn't get too far. It looks completely different than this. So now I want to show you sometimes what I see inside of a connector box where people have been making, well, mistakes. They don't use this, right? So I'll bring you back and I'll show you what I have seen, and you let me know in the comments if you ever seen this before too. Okay, so that's what I've seen before. And you know, I'm thinking, you know, the thought process that went into that wasn't quite the same as going out and getting a proper Mirette connector. Now these come in different sizes for different gauge wire. They come in different designs, different uses. There's many of them on the market. I just prefer this style here that's got two little wings on either side that you can actually hold on to, that gives you a little bit of a gripping action. But I'm going to show you something that I do that maybe a lot of people don't do. But when I'm doing any kind of work, I like to know that it was me that was working on it, that somebody else didn't go in there after and change things, you know, for one reason or another. And so I'll show you what I do when I'm attaching my conductors to the Mirette connector, and it's more than just tightening it on. So I'll bring you back. So just imagine this is the two wires that are going to be put into a junction box, and just before I actually put the Mirette connector on, I always do this, and I will just, you get some ordinary tape, right? And all you do is I go right up to where the conductor would go on, and then I stop, and I can tighten the conductor on all the way, like the MAR connector, all the way, tighten it on. And then what I do is I go in the direction of the, I know I'm getting my hands in the way here, I go in the direction that it would force it to be tightened more, and that's all I do is I'll put some tape on there, bring it all the way down like this, and that is never going to fall off. That will stay on forever like that. And if you ever have to go back into a junction panel or a service panel or anything, you'll be able to recognize that it was you that put this on. And it's a good thing to do, especially in areas of high vibration where, you know, something may happen where this could loosen up over time. And like I say, I have seen them loosen up and actually fall off. Let me know in the comments if you've ever run across one of these Mirette connectors that were just sitting in a box and the wire was exposed. Because I believe this is a lot better than just goobering up the end with a piece of this tape. That's not the acceptable way to do things. And I believe this is a lot better way of actually making sure that everything is fastened in there correctly. It's fastened in there so it's not going to come apart. And when somebody opens up a particular panel and sees this, well, it gives them a little more confidence factor that the person that was in there before them actually took the time to make sure they did it right. Thanks for joining me here today. If you haven't seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe and see some more interesting things in the future that maybe you might not see somewhere else. Cheers.